All right, well, hey everyone, welcome to the Cabal Cast. You've got me, Jason, Wode over there in the green hat, and then we've got Reptar down in the bottom holding down the ones and twos today.
Hell yeah.
So, this is our first episode, so we're going to tell you a little bit about why we're doing what we're doing. I've been doing this since Revised, so it's been a minute. Worked with Ogre at one point, helping run his store. Anyone who's in Magic knows who Ogre is. Now an owner in an LGS in St. Louis, been on a binder grind, and recently purchased a house, financed the down payment using Magic cards.
And I have way less experience than that, because I started in Amonkhet and do not have an LGS and do not know who Ogre is. So
How do you not?
I am relatively new to the game, obviously, both through the actual game itself and the finance side. I jumped on basically just online churn type stuff, eBay, CardSphere, TCG Player, Facebook, selling, buying, whatever it may be, making my own way until I met these guys and started hanging out and chatting and learning the ways of the game a little more deeply. So, yeah, so I'm the noob in the group, but I have some interesting insights coming from that side of things as well. So it's been fun to learn and to try some new things and come up with some new ideas to make some money in the industry. So,
Yep. I'm Peter. I've been playing since about Onslaught. I was a backpacker up until I think 2011 when I started actually paying attention to finance and prices. And I've always been interested in legacy and vintage, so finance for me was a way to get into there. And through that, I've started buying collections locally, flipping them, finished my legacy and vintage stuff, and then have been just churning ever since, grinding where I can, and just trying to make this game a little more financially viable than it can be. So with that, that's the three of us. So what we kind of done over the past, what would you guys say, like 6 months has been from the beginning of experiment to now? Like we started small?
I think we went official on August 19th or something like that.
Yeah, it's been like a little over a month. It hasn't been too long at all.
Yeah. That we've come together as a group and kind of focused our powers officially. Before that, we'd done it on some other smaller targets. We kind of experimented with this with Temporal Trespass. We just tried to game MTG stocks to see if we could get Temporal Trespass to show up on the risers and see what would happen. We've messed with Hatred a little bit, and I think it was actually Hatred where people just kind of noticed, like, we could actually move the needle on some of these played reserve list cards and pull some off the market, hold them, and release them slowly into organic demand. Not pump and dump, not just pull stock to zero and sit on things forever. No. Just organically do this.
Forget about my boy Pendulmists.
Oh yeah, Pendulmist. I didn't get in on Pendulmist. That's why I forgot about it.
Yeah, that was Cody and I.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. It's like we've released them into organic demand, and there's this mystique that everyone's like, oh, you're spiking these cards, you're spiking these cards. Like, it's an unregulated market, and the market will always win. So if the market is there to support Pendulmist at $10 to $15 when it was $5, that's the market at work,
Yeah. And so that's kind of where we are with, our cabal.
Yeah.
It's just a bunch of us that came together to try and do this. And what has made this pretty easy has been CardSphere. So prior to CardSphere, in that time between Temporal Trespass and August, we were just doing things individually through TCG Player or eBay, whatever outlet we chose, buy lists for some.
Facebook, buy lists, whatever it was,
yep.
Yeah.
And the organic demand that we kind of sate is CardSphere now. And
yeah,
we've got a couple developers with us that build our very bare bones tools, so we can scrape MKM, and we have lists to see what demand looks like in Europe and pull from there if we need. And we have somebody who's actually scraping CS just to see how many cards are being being requested on how many different accounts, and we make our moves kind of like that. And Woad actually takes care of that entire side of the business. He's single-handedly churning CardSphere for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
He's,
so it basically just goes even. There's a lot of data to it, but then there's also just some intuition to it as well, and that I think a lot of the guys in our group and some of us just. I know we had a guy that called the whole hollow one, bridge below.
Yeah.
Had a guy that
Vine,
called all
that
that
whole
in our group. Everybody got in on bridge belows. Everybody got in on the walking ballistas, hanger back walkers, all that fun stuff. So there's a little bit of that as well, and then just the natural churn of, hey, if I can buy a Snapcaster at $45 because I got a good deal or because I bought a collection, and I can sell a Snapcaster at $60, then that's pretty easy.
Obviously, you're going to go for it.
yeah.
And so there's the restricted or the reserved list, buy outs where you're trying to find the organic demand for cards that just haven't gone up yet. There's the churn of the staples of the formats that everyone wants to play, especially modern, that just allow you to, if you can buy low and sell high, it's the simplest game in the business. It's an easy thing to say, but if you can do it, hey, it actually works. It's like when you're trying to lose weight, if you can burn more calories than you eat, hey, guess what? You lose weight. Same thing with making money. So I think we've just found that it's really there's definitely some tools you can use, but for me, from when I started before working with these guys and now working with these guys, a lot of it's just patience and a little bit of diligence in setting up your lists and doing the things you're doing, and it just kind of works itself. So
yeah, and you work tirelessly on this, just that churn. Like, that's no joke. Like, I honestly didn't think. I argued for a couple of days that we would not be able to churn as much stock as we would, and it's not in terms of like churn to make profit, just churn to refresh the stock. I didn't think we'd churn as much as we did, and lo and behold, like, if you target the right cards on CardSphere and you're quick with your offers and you set up the right deals, you work with the same people again and again, which we do, it becomes super easy to just churn through all this stuff.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what our numbers are in the past couple of months. Fade would know that, but I know we're up significantly.
Quite a bit.
Yeah, somewhere in the neighborhood. It sounds small, but like 12, at least 12%. I think that's the floor. Like, if we liquidated everything, we're up 12% on the starting number.
Right.
And that was a week or two ago.
Right.
Yeah, and that's just buy list, not actual like retail air quotes on what that would be. So that's pretty good.
Yeah.
For me, the churn, like, once you go to a couple of GPs, you get in with a couple of vendors and just like know them. Moose Loot is a great example. If you ever at a GP and you need to dump stuff or you need to pick something up, I cannot stress enough, Moose Loot is one of the best vendors out there. They will take care of you, they will make sure you have a good experience, and they're flexible on their numbers. So that was up until I hooked up with you guys, how I was doing a lot of my churn. That and Facebook. Sick Deals is awesome. Can't recommend that group enough.
And we use Sick Deals a lot to out a lot of our cards.
Yeah.
Because it's actually the thing about buying and selling cards is that the buying part is super easy. And it's the selling part that is a little bit more challenging, and you can build up stock and build up stock and build up stock, but if you have nowhere to put it and you can't turn it into money, then you just have a bunch of stock. And so if you want to be able to churn cash, have dividends, different things like that, then you have to have good outs to turn it into cash. And CardSphere can be an out, and there's a lot of, we send, I don't know, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 a month on CardSphere. But Facebook's a good out because Sick Deals, because it allows us to just turn it straight into PayPal cash. Discord groups can even be a good out because they allow you to turn it straight into PayPal cash, different things like that. So it's all about just taking all the tools that are available to us. We don't sell on eBay, but we buy on eBay when we see deals that we just can't pass up, or maybe a best offer we can negotiate down, or eBay puts them up, or
the coupons,
15% off deals, and you just got to utilize basically every tool that's given to you, and there's a lot of stuff out there that allows you to have success.
So I think it's a good place to actually sequence to something I want to talk about. And on the CS account, we don't like to move into things that are spiking. So a lot of the cards that we're going to mention at the end as our picks or things that have spiked recently aren't cards that we'll buy personally and move into the CS account or look for immediately unless we think we can catch ahead. But we are not shy of loading big ticket items onto the CS account or pull big cards out of the CS system to churn.
Yeah.
I think the account has, is it 2 or 3 duels currently on it that haven't been sent?
Yeah.
We have, and we've picked those up. Various people that work with us have picked them up. And so the question to ask is about this. Since we're going to be acquiring these and sending them out through CardSphere, when we go out and we look at these large ticket items, like how do you guys kind of approach that when we're looking to send through the CS account or even personally on Facebook groups or on eBay or the Discord groups that are out there for like 93, 94 or the legacy groups?
You first, Cody.
Sorry, I meant you cut out for just a second in the middle. Can you asking how we out cards essentially?
No. Pick them up. Like, so a lot of people are afraid to pick up large ticket items, dual lens power, etc., sight unseen, on the internet. What are we doing in these instances to kind of ensure ourselves on the way in? Yeah,
so with eBay, with TCG Player, which we never really buy on TCG Player because it's TCG Player prices, but for eBay, you have buyer protection. I mean, essentially, if you get something that's fake, you're not supposed to get whatever. You just say, hey, eBay, this is fake, and it's a process, but you get your money back. CardSphere is the same way. If you get sent a big ticket item, it's fake. Your money's held in escrow. You just report it, take pictures, show that it's fake. You get all your money back, whatever. Discord, I only buy from people that I trust. Same thing on Facebook, whether it's in the groups that they're in, that they have references. If they don't have good references, PayPal Goods and Services, to make sure that in case they send you fakes, bad condition, they don't show up, whatever it may be. And you just try the best you can to deal with people that you've built a relationship with, because hopefully you can get better prices from them. You can buy things in bulk. We may buy $2,000 in cards from somebody. And so they get to dump $2,000 in cards at one time, and we maybe over the course of a month can turn that $2,000 in cards to $2,800 in cards, and then minus shipping, maybe it's like $2,600 in cards. So we just look at all that stuff, and since we can hold a bunch of inventory, then it allows us to put packages together for people, whether it's through Facebook or CardSphere, whatever it may be, that we can maximize their shipping costs and different things like that. So, I mean, right now on CardSphere, we have $4,000 in cards going out. There's $3,000 in cards coming in, and I know I have a bunch of Facebook sales that I have to go and look through as well. So there's probably somewhere around $5,000 in cards on their way out right now. So there's basically, like I said, just all the different tools that there are to buy. You just have to figure out what ways make them work for you and what you're doing, and then make sure you protect yourself, because unfortunately there are a lot of bad actors in the community and bad actors in the finance world, especially because I just named large numbers. There's big money involved.
There's a lot of money floating around
for people to do things wrong, and so you have to be prepared to protect yourselves from those people.
Yeah, like for me, one of my biggest things is it kind of depends on the item. Obviously, references are big. There's a few vendors I know, if they vouch for someone, hey, that's all I need, that's fine. Because like at the end of the day, this is a reputation-based industry. So, is someone going to ruin their reputation over a $20 Shockland or something? Generally speaking, no. So I may be a little bit too trusting, but by and large, if it's someone that like owns a store or has a podcast or something, they're not going to ruin their reputation on a fake.
Yeah.
Customer service is king here. That's why you have the same vendors at every SCG. The experience you're getting when you walk in the door. MTG Mint is going to be great. Card Monster is going to be good. What you're getting with ARG, all the way down the line. So for me, a lot of times it's just, I first look at the dollar amount. Is it less than $100? All right, whatever, fine. I'll send you friends and family. I know you'll make it right one way or the other if it doesn't show up. But when it comes to higher ticket items, unless it's someone I know or trust, I'll never buy power without looping it myself. Just because maybe it's paranoia, but someone can take any picture from a group with a loop and just send that to me instead of an actual photo.
Yeah.
Power's a different monster.
Yeah, exactly. Dual lands, just like Cody said, you've got buyer protection there working for you with PayPal, goods and services, however you want to do it. And then, just a lot of that stuff, I'll go to a GP and I'll arrange the sales ahead of time, meet up with someone and say, hey, I'm going to be at this event. Will you be there? Cool. Let's handle the swap. Like anything that's over, $5,000-$6,000 on the sale, I always want to do face-to-face. I never want to, I'll just send you a couple grand. Although I say that, and I have definitely done that with some of the Sick Deals admins, so let me stop myself right there.
Fair.
But again, that's the reputation.
Yeah.
Those guys aren't going to risk their reputation or the reputation of the group for, some power.
Yep.
But
yeah. For me, I always like to do things in person. Playing back in Onslaught and starting to pick up my duels at $20 a piece, there's just something to me about seeing them before I buy. And luckily through transactions now I haven't had a problem. And what's kind of burned me over time, and the reason I do everything in person now, is Magic Online Traders League. When that was the thing, it might still be the precursor. Modal?
I loved Modal.
Modal?
Yeah.
Before Cardsphere, before Puka Trade, before a number of things, was Magic Online Traders League, and it was basically just a bulletin board where you put your haves and your wants and you send and you hope. And I got burned twice, and I stopped that, and it's why I never bought into Puka, and I was hesitant to buy into Cardsphere. But I do work on Facebook because, as was mentioned, this is a reputation-based industry now, and when you're moving any kind of product at a decent volume, there are people that might burn you, but generally not, because they want to keep their revenue source there. Wow. They don't want to just burn things. People don't just jump into a Facebook group, try and sell off their entire collection, and burn half the people they're selling. So at this point, that's where I do a lot of my work. And to speak to the point about looping things yourself, and part of why I still do things locally, is because, and I know this is one of the things we never want to talk about, it just happens to be sitting on my desk. This is a plateau I ordered as a proxy. And in a photo, this thing is going to look really good. But the moment you light test this, or the moment you loop this, it's just going to be an egregious sight. So it sits on my desk in a sleeve that says proxy.
Yeah.
And that's what's I worry about, and the reason I just kind of stay in my lane to do everything physically. When it comes to outing, I will usually buy a list. It's kind of my jam, just because I do know some vendors and I can set up large deals ahead of time. I'm also not too far from a handful of major cities that have large vendors, so I can always just drive my product down when I need to. Sending duels away to people on Facebook isn't something I haven't done before, but it's always something I worry about. So I always get nervous when I do that, but it is an out I take, and it makes things pretty easy and pretty comfortable right now, and it makes our work with the Cabal pretty easy and pretty straightforward, and really streamlines kind of everything, the entire process.
Yeah, it's like, if it wasn't for the onerous fee structure on TCG Player, I mean, Facebook effectively gets you the same audience.
Yeah.
You put in 15, 20 minutes of work to make the post right, and then out you go to the thousands.
Yeah.
And they'll pick it up.
Yep. I think the only post I've ever had a problem with was a candelabra into the misprints group, because it was like misaligned on the front but not miscut on the back. And they were like, it's not enough for us. All right.
Yeah.
Otherwise, everything's just been silk. It is.
Yeah.
It's perfect. And so, covering our ins and our outs. Oh, I guess one of the questions that can be asked is, how quickly do we move on new information. Like, you know, we've got a Star City that's running right now. Last week we had a PTQ running. When that happens, how quickly do we try and action our CS account or our PayPal cash to try and pick up what we think is going to be worth it for us, that's going to have a high churn chance or high churn percentage? So, like,
I mean, I think we generally move as soon as possible on those things. Like, I think we have 15 or 20 people in the group, and there's always someone watching the newest 5.0 decks, the SCGs, the PPTQs, whatever it may be. There's always someone watching for us and letting us know, hey, this card, whether it's Arclight Phoenix, Finality,
Creeping Chill,
Explosion, like, we're in on all those that are going up right now from this most recent set. And so I think there's enough of us that just have a good idea of what makes a good Magic card, and then there's enough of us that are watching to see, hey, yes, this actually does make a good Magic card because it's showing that it does. And thankfully, none of us bought into Assassin's Trophy being a $30 card or a $100 foil because we realized, hey,
I lost money on that bet.
Oh, well. He won't be here next week.
Yeah. Help.
But I think, I mean, Assassin's Trophy is a good card. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But it is a standard rare, and there's a very heavily open set, and so you know there's gonna be supply issues associated with it as well. So, and it's a good card now. It'll be a good card in 10 years, but it's just in the environment that it's in now. It's just got so much supply and so much. It does have a lot of demand, but everybody thinks as soon as they open it, oh, I got a $100 bill sitting here, so I got to sell it, and then everybody goes to sell it. Nobody wants to buy it because everyone knows it's going to go down.
Yep.
So there's that kind of stuff too. So you got to know those things going in especially when you're approaching new sets and stuff. So
a good question to ask is, some of the cards that we talked about just now were small ticket items right before they pop. So things like Expansion Explosion and Find Finality when it was first released. You know, do we want to wait on results from those cards before we say, okay, now's the time to get it? So Expansion Explosion, people were talking about it being the Is It Sphinx's rev for this set, but didn't put up any results until the PTQ. Is that something that we could, as a group, like, jump on? Or does that make sense for us? Does it make sense for the regular speculator? Or should they be looking until results hit and opening their spectrum and seeing who's doing what?
Yeah, I think on stuff like that, like Expansion Explosion specifically, because it was like 25-30 cents when it came out.
At that point, are you really losing that much if you're wrong?
Yeah, like, you see a card and you're like, oh, I could see this being good. It's 25 cents. I'll get 10 of them.
Yep.
Sure. So you spend $2.50 on those 10 cards, and then a week later, Card Kingdom has them buy listed for $1.70. Well, you're up 500% at that point. So really, it doesn't hurt to do that. And I think that's one of the things about new sets that a lot of people who are just getting into the speculation game can actually make use of, because you see a card like that and you're like, oh, this is good, it's 25 cents. Sure. Or if you play a lot of Modern, you see Creeping Chill and you think, man, this is an extra clock for Dredge or Bridgevine. I could maybe see this being worth it. Foils are like $2-3 on release day. Get a play set. Worst case scenario, you lose $5-6.
Yep.
But best case, you sell them for 10 each. So on the low ticket stuff, I think that's the type of thing that anybody can get into. I think if you're just starting out, you absolutely owe it to yourself to get involved at like the ground level of that stuff.
Yeah.
But that's just me.
Yeah, new sets are the perfect place to start for new people, because a ton of the cards come out worthless because people just don't know, and there's always going to be the 3 or 4 super hyped cards, and those cards are going to be all the value in the originally. And don't buy into the super hyped cards before they've even released on eBay. People selling them for $60 a piece or something. Don't buy those.
No, they'll be.
Well, after release comes through, you get to go play with the cards. You can see other people play with the cards. You get to watch it happen. Like, just kind of be paying attention. And there's going to be a lot of 25-cent cards you can get into. I mean, Scarab God was like a $3 card when Hour of Devastation came out. I remember that. and then for a long time in standard, it was a $30 or $40 card when it was the king of standard. And so, you know, there's these cards that people just, before you started playing with it, like before you played with Scarab God, you're like, it's kind of interesting, kind of cool, and then you realize, wow, this card is amazing. I can pay 4 mana and copy anything in the graveyard and make it a 4/4 and get the ETB and whatever it may be. So, yeah, you just start noticing those things the more you play and the more you get involved in it. So,
now, as far as CS was concerned with the small ticket items, you know, you're looking for an arbitrage opportunity there, basically trying to pick them up from a single vendor or as many people as you can on TCG Player, and then loading up on CS and sending those out. In the first week or two with the small ticket items, did you see a lot of churn on those? So when we looked at Expansion Explosion and they were like 25-30 cents, and we talked about whether or not we should load any into the account because we weren't sure on churn or even request any, has anything changed from that?
So I think for me, CardSphere, the way I've used it is I think a lot of the users are pretty savvy to the way new sets work. And so, and CardSphere provides a lot of tools for their users as well to make sure that they don't get blown out by price spikes and everything like that. So when you load up a card to your want list on CardSphere, if it spikes more than 10%, it caps it there, and then it stays there. And so, and that's good for the user.
Yeah.
But it's bad if you're trying to quick sell spiked card, right? So, and some people may adjust those prices, and those may be real prices, but because the site itself caps them, it doesn't really allow you to churn out cards as well. And that's okay, and I think that's a good tool. And I think it's more important to have safety for the users than for me to be able to unload cards at inflated prices, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
I mean, even now there's people on CardSphere offering over $2 on Expansion Explosion at this moment, and they were 25 cents on the week. So there's definitely money to be made out there on them, even so a week later. But for mass selling, like if you had 100 Expansion Explosions, now you can sell 100 of them at $1.70. You're not going to sell 100 of them on CardSphere because it's individual peer-to-peer users, right? And so there's a few people that run buy lists like we do, but generally speaking, it's just peer-to-peer, and maybe somebody wants a play set, maybe somebody wants one foil for Commander, EDH, whatever it may be. But if you're wanting to buy 100 or 200 of something and sell 100 or 200 of something, that's going to be...
You're going to have to buy a list.
Yeah.
Nobody else is buying in that kind of volume. So
yeah. So that comes to knowing your outs. Like regardless of whether we're doing this for the group or individually, an idea behind picking up a card when it's spiking or a lot of a certain amount of cards is knowing what you're going to be doing with it.
Right.
I think that's a lot of good information to cover for like an intro to what we do, and over time we'll dive a little deeper into exactly how we work and a lot of how we churn through stuff. We just don't want to get too deep into it. But I guess one of the things that we can do that's kind of par for the course, standard for the industry, is between the three of us, going forward, let's say in the next week or two, if you had to pick 1 or 2 cards to say, this card is going to go up, I see it coming, the chance for either arbitrage is there or get out, like when you can, what would it be? Cody?
So whenever this idea came up, what I like to use is just demand, generally speaking, rather than looking at anything else. And since I kind of manage all the churn and the buying and selling and everything, I get to see, looking at CardSphere and looking at where we're selling other things, just the general demand for cards and who actually wants what at what prices and how much they want of them, and the fact that those offers stay means that people aren't really willing to send them at those prices, right? So like on CardSphere, if somebody wants to offer $14 on an M19 Crucible of Worlds, it shows up on my send page because I have a bunch of them. And they're staying on my send page at a very good offer because everyone thinks M19 Crucible of Worlds has bottomed, right? So it's kind of fun to follow that information and to kind of see where it leads you. And so to me, it feels like from watching that the A25 ports have definitely bottomed, and people are offering near retail for them, and people aren't getting and the same thing with M19 Crucibles.
Yeah.
And then Lily of the Last Hope is one that I've been following for a long time. Basically, all of Eldritch Moon I love. There's so many good cards in Eldritch Moon that I think have a really high ceiling to go up over time. Spellqueller, Grimflayer, Lily of the Last Hope.
Yep.
Even down, I think
Tracker,
Alliance is a great side card that can see play even as an uncommon. Imprison in the Moon is an incredible EDH card.
Yeah, we've been talking about Imprison for a while.
Foils on forever, and so Eldritch Moon is just incredible in general. But Lily of the Last Hope is potentially over time going to become better than Lily of the Veil, I think.
Yeah.
And so that one has just continued to climb and continued to climb, and I think everybody's seen that. So those are kind of some of the ones that I've been following closely and watching and stocking up on, and just trying to buy them whenever I see good offers out there, or
oh yeah, look at that.
I buy those almost immediately just because I think we're at the bottom on a lot of those, or we're near the for Lily of the Last Hope, we're not at the bottom obviously because she has been, but she's still on her way up, I think, for sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Her price chart, I've got it up now from stocks, has just been going up since almost, I guess, for the last year, since IMA.
Yeah, she's been steadily on the upswing.
Very good.
Yeah.
For me, mine, and shout out to Pablo for this one, I thought it independently of him, but he confirmed. I actually think Tocatli Honor Guard, short term, is a really good pickup. It shuts down the Golgari decks in Standard hard, because everything's based on an ETB. So there was that mono white deck that ran 4 of the main at the PTQ last weekend.
Okay.
It got like 4th or 5th. It ran 4 main deck Tocatli Honor Guard, 4 main deck Remorseful Spirit, like all of the mono white hate bears that are relevant right now. The dinosaur that's like the Kismet effect.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It also should be in the sideboard of Jeskai, because bringing that in game 2 against Golgari seems real strong because it shuts down their Chupacabras, so they basically have to have their Contempts, their Trophies, or a Vraska. And if you're, look, I play Golgari. If I have to use Vraska to kill your Tocatli Honor Guard, I am losing that game. There is no way. And I think right now, Honor Guards are like 25 cents or something like that. That's just...
Yeah, it looks like 50 cents or below.
The foils are less than $1, I think.
Yeah. So I just think, the pre-release foils are $1.22 low. So there's like no reason that card shouldn't be like $2 to $3.
Yeah. And it's not like Standard's solved, but we've definitely kind of coalesced down into maybe 3 or 4 decks that we should be seeing for the next couple of months. So any cards that we're looking at for Standard in particular should just continue to rise as kind of up here. And the other thing that Tocatli has going for it is that recently you've had people like Saffron Olive start playing the card in his lists. And I don't know if he's done any videos with it yet, but the moment he does, it's a $5 card.
The Picasso effect is real.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely.
I may not like him as a player, but he absolutely 1,000,000%. His cult of personality is great for the finance game.
Yeah, and like sticking on that channel or knowing when those articles drop can definitely put you ahead of a lot of things. For me, my call would have been last week. Or was actually last week. Expansion Explosion, right?
Yes,
what is about 50 cents?
Yep.
There was no Magic coverage, and so Star City was hosting Todd Anderson play in the PTQ, and I watched him round 2, round 3, round 4 just blow people out with Expansion Explosion, and I moved in on it, and it's now over $3. I think the buy list on it is $150. I think this card is okay to buy into if you have the ability to get rid of it close to retail. So if you're buying it for $3 and getting rid of it for $5, you're going to come out a little bit ahead after like the 12% TCG player fees. Trading is going to be better, or Facebook or CardSphere is going to be the way to go for that. I actually think Niv Mizzet is going to. It should pop soon.
It's a great casual card.
Yeah,
it is.
It's also a great finisher in Standard right now.
Yeah. Then that's why. So also in that Jeskai list were, I think, 2 Niv Mizzets in the main and another 1 or 2 in the board. And people have just been playing Niv Mizzet main and board this entire weeks since. I think Sam Black talked about it in the Pro Points podcast from last week with Mike Sigrist about Niv Mizzet, and I think this card will hold value better longer because of what was mentioned in the fact this is a great EDH card. Like of the three Niv Mizzets, it's probably
great casually.
If you want to play Niv Mizzet Tribal,
yeah.
Niv
Mizzet Tribal.
Yeah, you got 3 of them, right?
Yeah, you may as well.
Yeah.
I think he's the best one.
Niv Mizzet Tribal.
I think he's the best one as well, and thus he's probably going to hold value a little bit longer. And I can see him being probably a $7 to $8 card long run for the non-foil, but that's like years down the road. Immediately, I think he'll be a $5 card, and at maybe somewhere between $1.50 and $2 pickup right now. I think that's the way to go. But you're also looking like 2 or 3 weeks out. Right now we have a Grand Prix going on in, is it Philly or Pittsburgh? That's standard. That's in the dark. There's no coverage this weekend because WotC is doing live stream stuff on the Magic channel. So once we have deck lists, we'll be able to see what's going on there. And after the PTQ, this will be the next largest standard event, and then we'll probably see a raise in a lot of these cards that haven't kind of caught up to the rest of their archetype yet.
Yeah. And especially online, I think there's been a lot of, paying attention to that and seeing the streams. Like you said, Todd Anderson is definitely one of the guys you want to pay attention to because he's going to see that stuff coming a mile away. So.
Yeah. Those guys have been talking about Expansion Explosion for 2 weeks, 3 weeks now, however long the card's been spoiled. Like, once you see it played, it's a no-brainer. Yeah. But I think we can just kind of wrap it up here. I think it's enough for episode 1 of the Cabal Cast, and we'll try and get the audio out onto all major podcasting networks as soon as possible. We'll also try and make this a four-host show, but our 4th host was running a little late. And in the future, you can definitely expect a couple guest spots from people that we know within the industry. They should be able to pop in and give a little more insight into market movements and things like that. But in the meantime, where can we find you guys?
You can find me on Facebook, just Jason Thurston, and I am very vain, wearing the Kanye shirt that says, "I'm not even going to lie, I love me so much right now." So it's just me as my profile picture. Find me there.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I'm on Facebook, Cody Brown. I'm on Twitter, TX Card Pirate, and I'm on Cardsphere, Wodeworks, and you should see me on the leaderboard somewhere, generally speaking.
Yeah.
MTG Underground is where you can find us on Cardsphere, by the way.
Yeah, and MTG Underground is is where you can find the crew on Cardsphere as well. Yep. So,
Yep. I'm Peter Kritzberger, and you can find me on Twitter at its_duh_Pete. And I'll probably be updating that to reflect my Discord and Reddit user handles shortly, so I'm a lot easier to find in multiple spheres at once.
Oh yeah, I'm Wodeworks everywhere else too, on all the different things.
So. There you go. But all right, guys, thanks for joining us, and see you next time.
Yeah, it was fun.
See you guys.